Hi everybody, this is Debbie Mueller. I'm coming to you from my deck, and no, I don't really plan to do any plein air painting right here, but it occurs to me that it could be really helpful for me to show you my plein air setup and then how I set it up. My first plein air painting, I actually just looked it up. Here it is. It was done in July of 2016, so 4 years ago. I remember that day really well. I lugged a big, heavy French easel out to Pierce Island in Portsmouth. I had to carry it a distance. I had all my stuff in another really heavy bag. I sat up. I had this beautiful view of a bridge and an island and a house, and I got partway through the painting and realized that the island was gone because the tide had come in. So that was my first good lesson. But I really needed a lesson in portability and efficiency and gear. And as you may know, there's a ton of different setups that you can choose from. And I've had a few. I'll tell you why I use what I'm using now and how I feel about it. But I think the most important thing to me is that I'm hands-free. We just came back from Monhegan a couple of weeks ago, and I did sort of, my dream painting in a way, which was that I hiked down a pretty challenging trail down the rocks to the shore to paint Gull Rock, which was painted by Edward Hopper, who's kind of a hero. And if I had a cart on wheels or a really heavy setup, I never could have made it. I had my hands free. I actually used a walking stick, which was really important in terms of keeping my balance on the really steep and uneven terrain. And so for me, the most important thing is portability. And so what I have here is my backpack. And it's a little bit heavy, but when I wear it, I use the chest and waist straps, and it's really not a problem to hike for a fairly considerable distance. And I'm old and kind of out of shape, and so, if I can do it, you can do it. So I wanted to show you kind of what I have on it. There's one thing that I don't have on it that I very occasionally carry, which is a stool. I paint while I'm standing up. And so, but if I'm going to a workshop or something and I know I'm going to be watching a demo for several hours, I'll sometimes attach a stool to this side. But in any event, what I have here is my umbrella, which is a Best Brella, and I'll show you how that works in a minute. I have my tripod that has attached to it, this is my panel carrier. I'll show you that I use a Joshua Bean Day Tripper easel, and when you choose that setup, you have to choose your pallet and then your panel carrier separately. And what I like is that the panel carrier can stay attached to my tripod. So here's my tripod. This is just a regular tripod that I think I got on Amazon. It was probably about $50. I do keep my odorless mineral spirits in this sealed container. It is absolutely waterproof. I've never had a leak, but just in case, I do keep it on the outside of my pack. If I'm traveling, certainly by air, but even sometimes if I'm like going on a ferry or something like that, I will sometimes travel with it empty just because I would never want it to get unlatched and spill on someone else's stuff. In this front pocket, I modified my palette to hold this brush holder that I got with my EZL easel, and I'll show you how that works. I have two hats in here. COVID, so I also always carry an extra mask. I have two hats in here. A baseball cap is fun, but if it's windy or super sunny, I use this hat which has an SPF. My lips get really burned, and this kind of shades my face, and it's got a strap so that it doesn't blow off. In this pocket, I have my brushes, and so I have a system, which is that when I'm done painting, my clean brushes go back in here, and my dirty brushes go on the outside. And so there's brushes on the outside, which means I didn't clean these, so I'm going to clean those. I really like this brush holder. It was $5. I did put a rubber band on the outside so that it can't collapse all the way and crush the brushes. So that rubber band is positioned so that if I close it up, it just twists all the way. They're still not being compressed. On the other side, I have a, it's another brush holder, but I don't have brushes in it. I have some tent stakes in case it's super windy, and bungee cords, but this is my secret weapon. This is a mechanics mirror, and it's telescoping, and I can use it as a mahl stick, although I don't usually paint such fine detail that I need a mahl stick, but if I do, I can have it. But the mirror part of it, I use all the time, both plein air painting and in my studio, to find my mistakes, hopefully before. So at this point, my phone rang, which cut off the audio, and then I totally forgot where I was. But what I was going to say is I look in the mirror to find my mistakes, hopefully before I get to the end of the painting, and I really have to change a lot in order to fix them. It's really a funny thing when you, shortly after you start painting, your mind becomes adjusted to the painting as you've done it, and it reads it as correct. And so by looking in a mirror, it's kind of like seeing it for the very first time, and all the errors that you've made in drawing or perspective will jump out at you. This painting is one of the ones that I did on Monhegan recently, down at Fish Beach under the umbrellas. All right, so I want to show you what's on the inside. Oh, one other thing. I divide my pockets kind of by theme. So on the outside I have, I keep some lights in case I'm doing a nocturne. And I also have some clips and chargers, and if I travel with a battery, I put it there. So that's kind of my technology area. And then on the inside, is sort of my environmental area. So I have these insect repellent towelettes, sunscreen, gloves that have the fingers cut out, SPF lip balm. As I mentioned, my lips burn really easily. So that is my sort of environmental area. Now, in the main part of my backpack, first and foremost, I have my palette. And so this is, like I said, the Joshua Beam Day Tripper palette. It opens like this, and so I have surfaces here. The brush holder that I told you about, I modified this a little bit. I added this little row of nuts. If I put it on without those, it kind of dangles at a weird angle, and so if I put it in, it kind of stays upright. And I've also added just a couple of magnets that I use to hold my palette brush. I also carry with me a pallet pack, and this is the best way that I know to carry wet paintings. A pallet pack is really just a frame that has comes in different sizes, so you have to pick the size of the painting that you're going to do, or the canvases or panels that you're going to keep. It can hold 2 wet paintings. You take off these big rubber bands, and what you'll see is that there's sort of a cutout groove. So I have an empty one, and then there's a painting that I was working on recently, and when it sits right in there, the edges touch a little bit, but that's the part that's going to get framed anyway, and it's super secure, and it doesn't take up a lot of space. One of my first plein air easel had a panel carrier that I thought was a great idea, but it made it so bulky and big, and I just didn't use it. So I have my panels. I have my paper towels and a garbage bag. Now this string comes with my easel, and I'll show you how it fits on. I also keep with me a value finder and a red filter or ruby beholder, whatever you want to call it. This is really useful at seeing values, so it can be helpful, and I use it a lot. keep my paint in one of these sort of craft kits. It's very secure. I've never had a problem. I have taped to it the uh, FAA noticed so that the airlines know that nothing in here is above the flash point. I do have a little jar that's got a magnet on the bottom. This is for medium. I have a palette knife, which you couldn't take on the plane with you. And I do keep a plier in case one of my caps is really stuck, but that doesn't happen very much. Now, this is for tube paint, but I use a system both in the studio and Plein Air called the Pallet Garage, and I do keep it in a bag because sometimes it gets a little messy. And what it is a plastic tube that has inside of it sort of an L-shaped piece of plastic to which I've attached some Velcro. And what you'll see is that the paint sits on there. I keep it on there while I'm painting. I pull from those piles and refill as needed. And then it goes back into the pallet garage to travel. And at the tips of the pallet garage, these little caps here, they do come off easily, and so that's why I've taped them. But there's like a little felt thing to which you add some clove oil, and it keeps the paint fresh for a really long time. Maybe not always the earth colors, because those dry a little quicker, but my whites and blues and reds even really stay workable for a long time. And then finally, I have some viewing and sketching tools. I have a viewfinder that I find helpful to kind of sketch out my design. I have some other viewfinders. I have my sketchbook. There's a little color isolator in here. Sometimes you just look at, I think particularly shadows, and you say, what color is that? And I think I got this from Tim Horn on a workshop, and it's a neutral gray on one side, and so it helps you determine the value as well as the color. Like I said, when you isolate it, it helps you sort of name that color and be a little more adept. And then I have my Tinkerbell pencil case. That's what you get when you're a mom, to hold pencils, erasers, etc. So, let's see, and that's everything. So there's nothing in here that I'm missing, and there's nothing in here that I don't need. So I'm really efficient with it. I pretty much use everything that you've seen every single time I paint, except for sometimes the umbrella. If I have a nice shady place to stand, I won't necessarily use that. So let me show you how I set it up. So I start with my tripod. And I open the legs. I tend to open fully and then adjust from there. With the easel that I have, it's important to use a taller tripod because the easel itself is sitting on the tripod legs, and if you use a shorter tripod, it'll just be too low. Now, let's see where I can set this up. I think you can see pretty well from here. So for this tripod, it's useful to shorten the back leg. So I'm reaching behind to this back. You can see I'm pushing it down a little bit, and this will help my palette be more horizontal, and it'll make it more stable in terms of the center of balance. This panel holder, I just loosen this on my tripod, and it can go upright, but obviously that's ridiculously too tall, and so I lower this. I'm going to just lower the whole thing, mostly so that it's in the camera view. There we go. And so these have a little knob on the back that allows you to rotate them to a horizontal position. This is loosened up a little bit, and that happens from time to time, so I'll tighten it later. The next thing that I attached is my palette, and again, these just open up, and they sit actually on the legs of the tripod. Now I'm starting to wear through the foam a little bit, and I'm probably going to tape that, and then eventually that'll fail too, and I'll have to sort something else out. I have some friends that have used this and said that once the foam is gone, it's not very secure, and they use some Velcro to kind of attach it, but so far I haven't had a problem. So I open that up. The next thing I do is set up my paper towels. And so I've gotten them hooked together. I start with the loop, and there are some screws on the inside here, and I sort of weave them a little bit under over. So they go down to where my paper towels are, back up, under 2 screws, and then there's a little hook here, and that's where I attach my terp. So that'll dangle down. You just can't see it from that angle. My brushes can come right at the edge here. Let's angle this. There we go. So my brushes can go right there. Told you about my pallet garage, and so you'll see I have 2 pieces of Velcro attached right there, and then that'll just hold on its own. I go into my paint and I pull out my medium cup, which I attach here with a magnet, and my palette knife there. My panel, this particular easel has 2 ways to hold the panel. So there's a shelf that you could use right here that could hold a stretch canvas as well. But these nails are really secure and don't obstruct the view. And so I usually use those, and then if I reach around the back and get it secured on top, this isn't going anywhere now, it's super secure. And what I really like about this setup is that my panel is at eye level. What I found when I used a clamshell style pochade box was that in order to have the palette at a level that was comfortable for mixing, my painting was below my eyes. And so there was a perspective issue. I would make mistakes in my drawing all the time. I still make some, but it would happen very frequently. And it was because it was lower. The day I got this easel, my drawing got better because everything was straight in front of me and I could see that. So, so that's that. And then I'll just show you the setup of the umbrella. I do want to tell you that if I'm using the umbrella, I will weight down my easel. I'll put my paint back in my backpack, which is heavy, so it kind of holds it. And then there's a hook in the middle of the tripod. I'm not going to get to it now because I have to climb down a little bit. But I hang my backpack from that to secure it because the umbrella is a little heavy. So what it comes with is this attachment, which actually is made by Manfrotto, so you know that it's well done. And then it comes with an umbrella with 2 extenders. So what I do is I attach these. They just screw in. This company makes different colors. This happens to be silver with a black interior. I found it okay. There are some people that feel that it's too dark, and they do make one with a lighter colored interior to the umbrella. So then what I do is I take this and I attach it to the leg. Now there are 3 things. This one secures it to the leg, and then these 2 allow really infinite adjustments to the angle that it is. So you can see that I can rotate it anyway. So what I do first is I attach it securely to the leg. The sun is actually, this is not going to work for me now. So if I was setting up to paint right now, actually, because the sun is behind me, I would have my easel turned in a completely different direction so that I could attach this umbrella. I don't think it'll work in this way, but at least I'll show you what it can do. So the next thing I do is I open the umbrella, and then I feed it into the channel, and there's a white screw that secures it so it won't fly out if the wind comes up. And then I adjust it, here we go, to the position that I want, and I tighten those two screws that control that, and it stays. So so that's very helpful. The goal when you use an umbrella is that you want your painting and your palette ideally in the same light and in shade. If you paint with your palette in light and your painting in shade, your colors are going to be way off. They're going to be way too dark. So it's really important to kind of pay attention to that when you're out painting. Anyway, as you can see, I've got everything I need. It's all portable. It's all lightweight. It's really quick to set up and clean up. Everything goes back in my backpack. And if you have any questions, put your comments down below. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. I'm not being paid by Joshua Bean, prolific painter, regarding the easel, but I am really happy with the setup, and happy to answer any questions that you have about it. Have a great day and happy painting.